Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from SegaCDUniverse.com. This is my second video. Happy Halloween. Have a safe time with your family and friends. Hopefully you celebrate or do something interesting. So the other video I had spoken about some of my favorite horror, I would say, horror genre-based Sega CD titles. When I do air quotes, it's because they're not technically horror because they're really not scary, but they are in the horror genre. So I figured why not show you some more horror games I really love. Some of these are scary. Some of them have made me jump, have nightmares, and just creep me out and stuck with me over the years. So I figured what better way than to show them off. The first game I'm going to mention, which I don't have in my possession physically right here, but I do have it in my house upstairs. It's packed away under tons of shit. I don't feel like dragging it out to show you an empty case or just show you the case. It is Obscure on the original Xbox. A very underrated, almost like B-movie-esque feeling game. It kind of reminds me of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you're trapped in this high school, and it's sort of like a Resident Evil gameplay, and you have to work with each other to go through different rooms, get keys, open up locked doors, use items, things of that nature. Fight monsters, but some of the times they're so difficult that you're better off just kind of running. But really cool, and when you die, the game doesn't just end. That character dies permanently. You have other students you can switch to, and each student has different abilities. So one is like good at fighting, one is good at certain things. I think it was lock picking or something like that. Sort of, I guess you would say, reminiscent of Resident Evil Outbreak, which was online. I didn't play that one, but from what I've read, it looks kind of similar. But excellent game, Obscure. I beat it about a year ago with a friend. Now we're going to go to one of my favorite games that just scared the shit out of me as a kid, and I just love it. It's a great series. The second one trailed off for me a bit. The third one was good, but first one's where it's at. Or actually, I guess it's a remake, because the first one was on Super Famicom. I don't think it came out here, and then they released a, I guess, similar or upgraded version on the PS1, and that is Clock Tower. Clock Tower is a game where you, it's like sort of like Alone in the Dark, Resident Evil. It's like a 3D adventure game, and at points of the game, you're searching for items and clues and stuff, but this dude comes out with these scissors. His name is Scissor Man, and he follows you around, and this fucked up music comes on, and he follows you around, and if you have to hide in like, cupboards or under things, and, maybe pick up something to fight him back and then run, and if you end up going in a place that he finds, he'll turn around quickly and just like stab you and kill you, and it's like game over. But there's a lot of endings, there's a lot of cool scenes, interesting things, and one of the intro portions of the game where you first start playing, it's not an intro, but like the not prologue either, where you start just, the game starts rearing up or starting. There's a jump scare, man, that fucking scared the shit out of me. I showed a friend of mine when I was a kid, and he just jumped a mile too. So really great underrated horror game on the PS1. The second one was more like Japanesey, lots of like a Japanese schoolgirl type feeling too. It was good. And then the third one was on PS2, and that was really good too. I liked that one, but I never beat that one. And I don't have a PS2 anymore, so I don't have the game anymore. Now we're going to move into a genre that I never show or talk about, and this is the PC. So as a kid, I got my first computer, but before I got it, and this isn't scary, but it's in the horror genre, I had Blood, the shareware version. I remember buying this, and I was so excited to play this. It's a first-person shooter with tons of Easter eggs referencing The Goonies and all other movies, The Crow, I think The Shining, if I remember correctly, maybe not. There's tons of references. There's like a Duke Nukem reference where you see his body hung upside down with his head ripped off, and it's a great game. It's made by Monolith, I believe, and there's an online version or some kind of downloadable version. I don't know if you can see very well, but you're this dude that gets killed, and you rise from your grave, and you're able to, exact revenge. I think your name is Caleb. There's a sequel. The sequel wasn't as good. I didn't like it as much, but I always thought this was a really cool CD cover. This dude lying there in a bathtub of blood. But this was the shareware version, so I had this, got a computer years later, or a year or so later, loved it, went out and bought the actual game, which, as you can see, looks a little bit different. It's 2 discs, and, kind Comes with some shareware and Typo Negative's Love You to Death video, which is great because I'm a big Typo Negative fan. I wonder if this is what got me into it. I don't remember. And then I bought an add-on, the Plasma Pack, which adds 7 new monsters, 3 new weapons, and 11 new levels, including 2 multiplayer levels. I used to go on Heat.net and GameSpy as a kid and load this up and play this online with people, and Blood is just a really fun game. Great horror game. Lots of good humor. It's really more funny than anything. One game that is creepy and kind of came out at a time where it was old-fashioned looking is Harvester. Harvester is a pretty cool point-and-click adventure PC title. Really gory, really fucked up. I don't want to ruin the ending, but you wake up with amnesia and you're in this little, really little town. Everyone's really strange and eccentric. And, all this fucked up shit is happening, but none of the people seem to really care. It just seems like normal run-of-the-mill to them. And you have to find out why. Lots of gore, lots of blood, lots of violence. On Wikipedia, it mentions that there's references to child abuse, pedophilia, murder, rape. I mean, all this shit. I don't really remember that. I remember, alluding to certain creepy things in the game. Like, you could say certain things and point and click and, talk to people certain ways and say fucked up things. I don't really remember much else, but it was cool, it was interesting, it held my attention. I think I beat it eventually. Another one that I never hear about, which I really loved as a kid, I used to download the demo and then I ended up going out and buying the game. Sanitarium, no reference to Metallica there, please. This is a game where you wake up, again with amnesia, in a mental institution, and you have to break out, and then you end up in this really fucked up dark world. It's a point-and-click adventure. There is some clunky fighting to it, which I didn't really appreciate. I like the point-and-click aspects better. It was creepy, there was puzzles, item finding. Really great game. Check this out. This is a really overall great game. Harvester's more of a niche title that if you like FMV and point-and-click games, you'd probably like it, but there's a lot of FMV in Harvester. One of my other favorite games, or series I should say, Phantasmagoria. This is the Stage Fright edition that comes with Phantasmagoria 1 and Phantasmagoria 2. I played a little Phantasmagoria 1. It's an FMV point-and-click game. It's great, but I didn't get very far in it. I loved the second one. It was cheesy, it was weird. They do throw some crap in the mix that is not really horror-oriented, that I didn't like very much, but overall it's just creepy. It's pretty adult. I mean, they show some nudity, lots of violence, especially near the end of the game, and it's a point-and-click adventure, and there are a couple jump scares that got me as a kid, but great series. I love FMV, I love point-and-click, and horror, so, excuse me, so, just great. I think I'm getting dust in my mouth, excuse me, from the fucking games, because I haven't taken them out in so long. Jesus, excuse me, sorry about that. So, we're going to finish this off with my favorite horror games in the Xbox 360, on the Xbox 360. Let's see here, how should I start this? I guess I'll start with the one I played first. Condemned, Criminal Origins, highly underrated, excellent, creepy, scary, first-person melee, and some shooting, but primarily melee. It's a horror game where you're chasing down this serial killer. It gets very creepy, very weird, excellent ambiance. You know what I always notice about this game, and I still talk about it to this day? The walls. Really weird it sounds, right? The walls in the game, when I first saw it, just totally blew my mind. They look real. They like spackle on the walls and holes in the walls. I just thought it was such great ambiance and like background. I thought it was really cool looking. My friend Joe, his channel is Corn Muffin X. He said he considers it a virtual hobo beater, I believe, because all these like homeless people have their minds taken over and they're chasing you through buildings and you hear these fucked up noises and you have to beat the shit out of them and block. A lot of blocking and hitting. Excellent game. Second one's really good too, but I didn't throw that in there because that goes more supernatural, kind of like Alien-ish. This one I like better. Then we'll go with something that I really liked, but I felt that it wasn't completely done well. Alone in the Dark. Now, this game has some really cool, creepy ambiance to it. Really interesting ideas. You have to kill the bad guys with fire. So you have this. The problem with the game was two things for me. Three things. The difficulty was very, very hard, even on easy. So it took me a while to get through certain parts. I think so much so they let you skip certain scenes, kind of like a movie, which kind of sucks that they made it so hard. The other thing is the controls are sort of weird. Like they change when you go into, fighting mode compared to like adventuring mode or whatever. But it's a cool game. It's got interesting ideas. It has a real-time inventory, so you open your jacket and you have all this shit, and you only have a limited amount of space. So that kind of fucked me up too. But I did end up beating it after skipping, I think, one of the levels that really like pissed me off. But it's an underrated game. It's like $2. If you like horror and you don't mind getting past like the really bad learning curve, it's a cool game. It's an interesting story, and it's got a couple creepy scenes to it. So I like this. I thought it was pretty good. Another game I always talk about, Deadly Premonition. This is a Twin Peaks-esque horror title. It's got driving scenes, shooting scenes. It's like third-person action adventure. You have to find items and clues, and it's very Twin Peaksy, very goofy and strange, but kind of has a creepy element to it. If you like Twin Peaks, you will like this, as long as you can get past the kind of dated graphics and sort of clunky controls. I love this game. It's one of my favorites. So excellent game. I think it's really cool, really weird. It's about $10-20. I think it was like 20 or 30 when it came out new. One of my other favorite games that I constantly talk about, The Darkness, based off the comic book series. The sequel's very good too, but the sequel's a lot shorter, not nearly as open-ended. It's very linear and very comic booky because it's cel-shaded and it was done by a different company, but it's still a great game. This one is where it's at. First-person shooter. You have all these special powers that you have and you obtain by letting the darkness or this like demon spirit come into you. Great backstory, really interesting. One of the only games that really tugged at my heartstrings and almost made me cry. I thought the visuals were cool. A lot of side quests and open-ended things and fucked up shit you see. I really love this game. So much so that I have, it's actually not in here, the picture I wanted to show you. But if you've seen some of my older videos, here we go. This picture here, this Darkling, it's one of the things you can, like a little goblin thing you can spawn and make you help you. I have a tattoo of him, modified under my arm. So I love the game, I love the comics. This got me into the comics. Check that out. Down to the last three. Excellent horror game. Really, really great. Feels like what Alone in the Dark was trying to do, but much better. Alan Wake. You get like sucked into this book that you were writing or something. It's kind of ambiguous to a degree where you're like, wait, what? And you kind of don't understand some of it. Really great. Interesting story, interesting characters. You have to use a flashlight to shine it on the bad guys, and then once you break down their like force field, you can shoot them with guns or flare guns or shotguns, and they explode. Beautiful, like exploding light fire effects. Very dark, very ambiotic. Is that a word? Ambiotic? Lots of ambience. I might have made up a word there. So just great game. One of my favorites. Then they put out like I think a pseudo sequel on Xbox Live, which I didn't play, and they put out 2 or 3, I think 2 downloadable content, like add-ons for this, and they were good. I played one of them. I think my other friend played the other, but they were good too. Amazing game, I can't say enough. It's like what Alone in the Dark was trying to be, except that's done well and refined. Then we're going to go to a game I thought brought the series back, Silent Hill Downpour. Some people will hate me for this, but Silent Hill is an excellent horror series. If you watch some of my older videos, what I had done was I went back and played every Silent Hill game except one, because I didn't want to hook up my PS1 on like an old TV. I don't really have an old TV anymore, and my PS1 is away. And I don't have Silent Hill on PS1. So I went back and played the other ones. I played 2, 3, Book of Memories, Downpour, what's the other one? Homecoming, Origins. Is that it? Oh, and Shattered Memories I played most of. I wasn't thrilled with that one. Anyhow, this one I thought really brought back some of the cool stuff to the Silent Hill series. I felt like it embodied it pretty well. That feeling of like being alone and isolated. The only thing I would say I don't like about it is the enemies all look the same. So there's points where you're like, I've seen this enemy a million times. But also, the fighting can be a little harsh. You have to like know when to block and when to hit. And there is some stuttering even after you download the like update bug fix, with the, like when you run sometimes, like the frame rate skipping. But really great game. I had a lot of fun with this one. I thought this Homecoming was way too action oriented for me. It was good, but a lot of fighting. Origins I thought was just kind of bland for me, and you could also control when you go into the light and the dark world, which I didn't like. But it was decent. Shattered Memories, you don't fight, you can only run, which has these like on-rail scenes where you have to run and find exits. And 2 and 3 are amazing. But this one I thought really, for me, brought the series back. And Book of Memories was decent, but it's like Diablo in a Silent Hill universe. But this one I liked. So take that for what you will. And finally, the grandfather of what I would call horror games. This is the HD version, which some people really, really beat the shit out of. This is how I first played Silent Hill 2 and 3. Excellent, really creepy, really atmospheric games. People were mad about how some of the things were changed. Some of the, I think the third game you can only do it with new voiceovers. The second game you could choose the old one or the new one in terms of voiceovers. So people were mad about that. There was some bugs in the game, especially in the third one with the audio. When you're shooting guns, it sounds like staticky, like something like the audio file's fucked up. And then there's some fog that's all fucked up and water in the second game. I love them though. I think they're great, great games. Even this collection. I never played the other ones. What was the other one I played? 4, The Room. That's the other one I played. That was good too, but I didn't like the backtracking. Anyhow, that was creepy, but that was a cool one. That was on the original Xbox. This is like the creepiest horror game I've probably ever played. Silent Hill 2. 3 was creepy near more like the middle to the end. 2 just starts out creepy, continues creepy, has an amazing story, has some fucked up symbolism. I was having nightmares. I don't know if I just played too many Silent Hill games in a row, but I was having these nightmares. I wasn't sleeping well. I just had all this crazy shit on my mind. So these are all my favorite horror games that are not Sega CD related. I hope you enjoyed, me just rambling about them and talking really fast. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast for you to, catch up. If you have any questions, drop me a comment. Tell me what some of your favorite horror games are. And have a very happy Halloween. And I hope it's safe and you and your family have a nice time. It's Vampire Mike from SegaCDUniverse.com. Be good.